Welcome. Welcome back to CryptosRus. I'm George. We're all George. So, what made Bitcoin go up today? Well, I think it's pretty obvious because we have another bank failure. So, let's talk about that. And also, there's one other major country that is really struggling right now and could use an injection of Bitcoin. So, let's talk about these things and more. Welcome, 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 guys. Hopefully you guys are doing good. Look at Bitcoin. Right, all of a sudden, got a boost today, right? Above 28,000. That's a good start. But, of course, we want to see Bitcoin climb back up above this 28.8 and get back to 30,000. We were there not too long ago. But what caused this sudden spike up? I think it's due to this. This morning, I kind of cover First Republic saying that their deposits fell dramatically, okay? And this was after 11 other banks were forced to deposit billions into this bank. And I'm talking about First Republic. And today, they fell down 50%. 50% in a single day. So when people thought, well, First Republic is good and everything is cheerful once again and there's no fears about this bank or any other bank failing, right? Well, think again. Think again. So the reason why some of these banks are failing like this, Credit Suisse is another one that's outside the U.S., right, is because they lost the deposit. They lost the faith of the people, and basically their deposits are, the deposits and liquidity are a lifeline of banks. And if people are withdrawing, well, then they basically die, right? So it's been reported that that the government is about to seize them, or the FDIC will seize them, right? The Fed and FDIC maybe tomorrow, when opening bell happens, it could be reported that they're being taken over, or there's some kind of forced sale or something like that, right? So this is the thing. This is the thing that people don't realize, that banks, they could fail too, and the people in charge of banks could also be greedy, and sometimes they're highly leveraged. And when you have a combination of things like that, I mean, a lot of them still go under, right? I think many people feel like banks can't possibly screw up. They're banks, right? They're full of bankers, the smartest people on earth. How could they go under? Well, they do. And we have seen many bank failures happen this year, okay? Now, partly some of it is due to the Fed going crazy with the rate hikes, but partly it's because they over-leveraged when they shouldn't have. They didn't prepare for a downfall when they should have, right? So I think this is the big reason why Bitcoin came back up again. Again, this trust in banks, this narrative continues on. This morning, I also covered Standard Chartered's CEO saying the same thing. He said, basically, if you thought all the banking crisis is over, think again. Because the Fed is not slowing down its rate hikes. It continues to increase rate hikes. So do you think more people are taking out loans? No, right? People are not taking out loans, not refinancing, not buying their shiny new car, right? And these banks, they don't have a whole lot of business going on, right? And I like to remind you guys that just a month ago, Jim Cramer said, after I think Signature Bank failed, one of the other bank fails, Jim Cramer's like, yeah, FRC is the new focus. Very good bank. So again, whenever Jim Cramer says something, you just do the opposite and you'll do very fine. Okay, so we're waiting for him to say, again, sell Bitcoin now. I would take profits with Bitcoin, like he did like a month ago too. We're waiting for him to say that. Because that's when we'll probably head to 40,000, right? But anyways, in addition to that, anything else that's driving Bitcoin upwards besides another bank that may be seized tomorrow or the next day, right? Well, there's one other country. I've been talking about it. Argentina. Bitcoin's price in Argentina is skyrocketing right now. You know why? Because they suffer from hyperinflation. Their citizens don't know what to do. And I covered also this morning that an IMF is telling Argentina, you better not embrace Bitcoin or we're not going to give you that 30-something billion lifeline that you asked for, right? I mean, that shows how desperate the IMF is. The IMF hates Bitcoin because they don't want countries under their control to break free. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. IMF wants to hold these countries under hostage, basically. Like, they want to control them. But, you know, citizens in Argentina that's suffering from hyperinflation right now, what are they going to do with their money, right? Basically, it's become worthless. What are they going to do? Well, that's why so many people are stocking up to Bitcoin right now. So it's much more expensive to buy Bitcoin in Argentina than it is here in the U.S. And Michael Saylor even made this example that the inflation rate in Argentina is now about 8% per day. Imagine your money devaluing by 8% per day. What are you going to do with that money? Think about it. Think about it. You rather pay a premium to buy Bitcoin than let it sit there in the bank account where it inflates to basically nothing, right? So this is what's happening around the world. It's not secluded either. There's other countries that have the same problem. This is why, for them and their citizens, if they embrace Bitcoin, it's actually a better deal, despite the fact that Bitcoin could be volatile and could go up and down. But in the long run, it's still better than seeing their money disappear by 8% per day, right? I mean, it's absolutely insane if you think about it. Those of us in the U.S., in Europe, Australia, Canada, UK, we may think our, 5% or 10% or whatever is bad. What about 80-something percent, right? Argentina is facing, I don't know what their inflation rate was. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy year to year. So these are the reasons why I believe Bitcoin got a little bit stronger today, right? But over time, Bitcoin will continue to get stronger, not just from these macro factors, although they play a big part into it. But, we got ever-growing fundamentals, the 4-year cycle. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I think as we see more bank failures, okay, we will see more strength with Bitcoin. That's why it was created. Bitcoin was created because of distrust in banks, right? So that's definitely the big story of the day. The other big story is this, and I had people message me about it like, oh my God, right? Gary Gensler wins. Gary Gensler, SEC, keeps throwing, red flags at this deal. And now Binance is like, forget it. So Binance was set to acquire Voyager for $1 billion and give back whatever assets people had, right? But because, and even a judge, the bankruptcy judge said it's okayed, but the SEC keeps throwing the red flag saying, no, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is security. This is wrong. This is security. Right? Binance is like, I had enough. And it's not just the SEC. Also, Department of Justice, CFTC, basically all the regulators in the U.S. They don't know what the hell's going on. They're just throwing red flags all over the place because there's no consistency. Everyone views crypto a different way. So, I mean, can you blame Binance.us for pulling out? I mean, I think some people are bad-mouthing Binance. I mean, like, seriously, they've been trying to acquire Voyager for how many months? 6+ months? And they keep getting pushback from all the regulators. So, of course, when you had enough, you're going to pull out, right? So that's exactly what happens. A lot of people are wondering what's going to happen next. Voyager says they will continue their previous bankruptcy proceedings, and whatever's left over will be given to the people. I don't know how much that is, right? Is it going to be like 20%, 50% of of assets, no one knows, but everyone thought that this was the best deal. $1 billion is $1 billion. It's not easy to make $1 billion, right? So that's why so many people are saying Gary Gensler is driving crypto to China and to other places. I mean, he's driving all these companies to Hong Kong right now. Hong Kong is becoming the new hub, Web3 hub. And exactly what Gary is doing, right? With his lack of clarity, lack of vision, lack of focus, and interagency communication, because the CFTC and the SEC and the Department of Justice, and even the IRS and the New York, South District of New York Attorney General's office all have different opinions about different crypto. No one seems to be talking to each other. No one is coming up with, okay, this is what the standard is, and this list of crypto, these are securities, these are not securities, right? No one knows. No one knows. It's such a effing cluster F is basically what's happening right now. Okay, so unfortunately, that's the other big news today. It's not a good news, especially if you have assets on Voyager, right? But yeah, that's how the cookie crumbles, I guess, in the U.S. Even Genesis, I guess they were trying to make a deal for, or DCG was trying to make a deal for Genesis, because Genesis also collapsed, right? And they owe a whole bunch of money, and I guess it also got disrupted, probably after seeing how Binance got, scared off from this deal. Probably all the other people that are eyeing, like Voyager and Celsius and Genesis, all the people who are interested in those assets will probably all pull out too, because they don't want to deal with Gary. They don't want to deal with any other agencies, right? It just kind of sucks. It kind of sucks. Well, I think that's the reason why you have a lot of DEXs that are exploding right now, right? People are sick of dealing with these guys. Centralized entities that can be shut down, can be regulated by Gary, right? That's why so many people are turning to DEXs and DeFi. And it's important, right? You think that a lot of people know how to use DeFi and DEXs. Think again. I bet 90% of the people watching right now don't even know how to use a self-custody wallet, let alone connect up to a DEX and start trading, right? But this is why it's important. If you don't want to be, using exchange that somehow suddenly shuts down or gets blocked or something like that, or your account gets frozen, you want to store your own crypto. So it's very, very important. But this is why also DEXs and DeFi is growing so much, because people recognize this, right? So Uniswap's volume is exploding. You have all these other ones, PancakeSwap that's exploding. You have GMX, which is a big derivatives exchange, derivative DeFi exchange. It's also exploding, and they partnered up with Chainlink recently. But there's a lot of DEXs, and I've talked to a few DEX companies or projects recently, and there's some really good ones. I talked to one today that has a lot of promise. Again, a lot of these projects are coming out of Cosmos for some reason, but I guess it's very easy to create your chain. But there are some fantastic DeFi projects coming up, and the future of DeFi looks very bright indeed. All right, guys, let's do some Q&A. All right, let's see. William Tur says, best show in the industry. I appreciate that. Let's see. Scrolling. Crypto info. That's funny. All right. That's a good idea. DeFi Friday should include some lessons on self-custody and use DEX. JR, those are kind of like too simple, and I have created videos like that before, and there are plenty of guides on CryptosRus.com. So Aaron may do some of that, but he's more like showing some of the projects that you can use. But if you don't know how to use a self-custody wallet like RX wallet or like Trust Wallet, something that's that allows you to basically store your crypto, you need to learn that first, right? Like you need to learn that right away. Steve Jordan, you're welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm trying to learn DEX and other ways to make money with assets. Keep it up. Tommy says, what's next? There's a lot. There's still a lot of liquidity pools. The reason why liquidity pools exist, first of all, that's how most AMMs or aka DEXs, how they're able to offer the swaps. But people that are staking get rewarded for it. So that's one way to do so. It's very different than how Celsius and Genesis and Voyager, how they did it. I think most people got soured by yield because of those lending companies that actually lent out your deposits. That's different than how liquidity pools and DEXs operate. So there's a big difference. So I think a lot of people do get scared. There are risks, of course, but they work very differently. A friend has 10.6 ETH and 0.6 BTC. Should he convert some ETH to complete a whole coin? There's no right or wrong answer to that. He could leave it like that. ETH could be on fire soon, and that may be advantageous to hold a lot of ETH, or maybe not. But it's okay to be a little diversified. Speaking of FOMO and pass, I gotta look at the entries and pick out another project to grill for this Saturday. So I'll have to do that tonight. BD, I appreciate that. I'm trying to, I'm trying to make sense of a really complicated situation, and one that sometimes doesn't make sense, right? But I try to put it together how I understand it. Of course, I get it wrong a lot of times, but after doing this for so long, you kind of just get it, right? Like you kind of get it. It's not that complicated. You just have to pay attention. But I appreciate that. Do you see a Wednesday? That's tomorrow. Today is not Wednesday. Speaking of Cosmos, have I used Osmosis? I have, but I don't really trade all that much atom-based tokens or tokens within, or coins I should say, within Cosmos, right? But I have spoken to a few DEXs that claim, at least one that's coming out in Cosmos, that claim that Osmosis is dead and they will be the dominant DEX soon. So that's kind of interesting to hear. But we'll see. We'll see if that's true or not. I mean, in terms of DEXs out of Cosmos, there's really just Osmosis. But funny enough, after talking to all these projects in Cosmos, they all say bad things about Osmosis. They don't like them at all. at all. It's quite interesting. The reason why Gary is attacking on exchange is obvious. He wants all cryptos to go through the banks. Well, you may want that, but doesn't mean that's going to happen. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know what Gary's agenda is, to be honest. Maybe his agenda, maybe, there are people that are pulling the strings and making sure he does all this, right, when he really doesn't want to. I like to think that's the case, but I don't know. Maybe he just has his own agenda. He just wants control, power. I think that's what it is. He knows that there's a vacuum right now. There's a power struggle, and he wants to make sure the SEC takes it. He wants to make sure that SEC is like the ruler of crypto. That's why I think he's making all these moves. If I had to guess. Our Ledger wallet's good for hardware wallet. Excellent. Excellent. Please do a gaming stream on Twitch. I don't play any games. There are a lot of good Web3 games coming out, but I don't really play any of them. Who's going to win an NBA championship? I'm going to say Lakers, although I don't truly believe they will win, but I would like to see them win. How about doing a poll for a FOMO pass? No, because polls could be highly skewed, especially if a project tells their community to vote. So we want to keep it fair, right? And we're not really vetting the projects ahead of time. So I think one of the reasons why, I don't know if, people don't understand, but we want to be objective and kind of learn the project for the first time, right? That's why we don't do for projects that are applying, we're not doing heavy research into them, because then it'll be unfair. We already know if they're good or bad, right? We want to find out during the pitch, like a real pitch, right? So we're just making sure that they're not scam coins. But outside of that, the projects, we're basically listening to them for the first time and learning about it and asking real questions. DZO, appreciate it. David, do you split your crypto between multiple wallets? Yes. Let's just say yes. I have many wallets, 4 or 5 wallets that I use. So, yes. This is pretty nice. Love to see Bitcoin right back above 28.8, above this support/resistance, right? Tomorrow, if we're above this, then we could be right back to 30,000 in no time. Daniel, Voyager's not in Canada. They were trading their stock in Canada, but they were based in New York. Sean says, I want to keep it fair, and yet you promote BTC as some alternative when it is not clear. Would it be alternative too? I don't know what you mean by that. BTC is never the alternative. I don't know what you're talking about. BTC is the coin. And I said this. The only coin that I believe will still be around in 20, 30, 40, 50 years. The only one I'm certain about is Bitcoin. Everything else could be replaced and could be forgotten. The one that will never, ever be replaced is Bitcoin. So I don't know what you're trying to say, Sean. You want to make money. It's not an alternative to anything. What are you talking about? Of course, everyone in this space wants to make money. What are you trying to say? Why is Polkadot dying? I don't know. There's just not a lot of developers on Polkadot. I don't know. I take that back. I don't know how many developers are on Polkadot. I just don't hear about any new projects on Polkadot. Everyone's choosing Cosmos right now or Ethereum. I don't hear anyone going on Polkadot right now. Am I a fan of Juno on Cosmos? You know what? I don't know too much about that project. I don't. Maybe they sound familiar, but I don't know too much about them. Relatively small. I'm assuming they're L1, but their web page is not loading. That's no good. And they're gone. Their website not loading, so that's not a good look. How do you feel about graded Pokemon cards? They're about to tank. Have you been following the controversy? These guys have taken all the good cards out of all these series for Pokemon, and now they're trying to sell it. Whoever that person is has like stacks of all these rare ZXs and all this stuff. So yeah, there's big problems with Pokemon right now. The whole card industry has tanked, but Pokemon cards are going to tank even more. So whoever worked in a factory or, I don't know, in charge of packs or whatever, took out all the good cards. How do you teach yourself that it's okay to sell as much as it is okay to buy? Getting easier for you? I don't know, I guess. I haven't really sold much. I sold a little bit, but not a whole lot. Let's just put it that way. So these days, I'm just trying to chill no matter what happened. I'm just chilling, right? And I'm DCing and not making a whole lot of moves. A few, but not really, you know, trying to time the market and selling everything off and buying back in. I think that's just too crazy. So, in your opinion, what percentage of people in crypto trade versus DCA? You know what? I think a lot of people in crypto trade and then they get wrecked and then they start DCing. I think everyone goes through that. Every holder have gone through the same thing. And a lot of people in the chat says the same things like, you know, I just lost money trading or playing leverage, or I calculated had I just not traded and held, I would have made more. Eventually, I think most people come to that conclusion, unless you're an expert trader. I have met someone who's the founder of one of the projects that I advised for. He's like an expert trader. Every time he shows me screenshots, but he's playing with like 7,500x credit leverage. He's like up 30%, up 20%. It seems like it's always guaranteed win for him. I'm not so sure that in the long run that will be the case, but short term, I can see many people doing very well. But most people in this space that try to trade, I'm pretty certain they end up losing. See, look at that. Everyone in the chat is agreeing. I think everyone starts in crypto as a trader. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I can look at all the indicators and all this stuff, the signals. You know, I'm smarter than everyone. I'm smarter than the market. I'm going to make some big bucks. And maybe the first few, you know, you start making. But sometimes, even when you're making, you're losing. After a year or two, you're like, let me just see how much I would have made had I just held. And then you look at it, and you're like, dang, why did I spend all that time trading? I could have just held and made more, a lot less pressure, and would have freed up a lot more time. Do you think old school projects like VeChain will have a good run up in the next bull run? Yeah, VeChain, a little weaker, but I still believe in them. In fact, I did talk to Sonny recently. Love to help them grow, beyond what they're doing now. I think VeChain needs a lot more help in the consumer space, retail side. They're B2B, but they need a lot more B2C. So we'll see. We'll see. But if they do add more B2C stuff, like DEXs and liquidity pools, games, NFTs, stuff like that, I think they could do really well. My online trade says, no one has time to hodl. In crypto, most people buy high and sell low. I don't disagree there. Have you purchased anything directly with crypto without changing fiat? Unfortunately, Jack, no. Although there are services that offer that, but I've been too lazy to look at them. So if I really needed to, when I cash out, I still cash out to fiat. But in the future, I definitely don't want to make it that way. Brendan, I'm glad you stuck with me. I do think this winter is over. We're definitely in spring. We're at the start of the new cycle, the new bull cycle. We're not in the bull run yet, but we are definitely in the new bull cycle. And things are going to get much better. Much, much better. Except for regulatory clarity in the U.S. That's probably not going to get better as long as, as long as the SEC is ran by Gary Gensler. Rango, I got a F8, a 2022 Ferrari F8. It's sitting in my garage, and I have zero time to drive it. I drove it twice, once for like 10 minutes and once to get gas, and that's it. I had zero time to enjoy it. But my weather has been really bad too, on and off. I saw Lakers stomp Memphis the other day. Memphis is real trouble, but I don't know who Lakers are facing after Memphis. If they're facing Denver or whoever, that might be tough. The Lakers, when they gel, when AD's playing like a monster, they're going to win every game. But AD is like on and off. Yeah. Brittany, First Republic. Well, it didn't fail yet. It's about to. It's about to be seized because it's down 50% today. Probably down another 50% tomorrow, and then they will be seized. Sacramento or Golden State? Probably Golden State, right? Golden State's winning that series. Can the Lakers beat Golden State? Yeah. Yeah. Danny boy, I don't have any thoughts on Casper, man. People have asked me. They're L1, but outside that, I don't know much about them. So, can't really say. Rather have a fat portfolio than a fancy sports car, in my opinion. Here's the thing, and I'm not trying to pick on you, okay? But you say that because you don't have a fat portfolio. But what if you do? At some point, You want to spend what you have made, right? You want to spend a little bit on yourself. So there's a lot of people that always make fun of people that buy very expensive things and say, well, I'd rather have the cash, or I'd rather invest, or I'd rather have a fat portfolio. But what if you had those things already, right? So just keep that in mind. It's a way to motivate yourself too, to keep going too. It's not about spending irresponsibly, but if you have the money and you're doing very well in your life, then you could splurge on yourself, right? Did I meet Tom Don? I did. I talked to him. He's an interesting guy. Let's just put it that way. He's a very interesting guy. Very not open, right? I was being very friendly with him. He wasn't not friendly, but he thinks before answering about anything. Like he's calculating in his head, right? Like he's very cautious. I guess because of poker. But yeah, he's in crypto hardcore now. He's like a big VC. He's making a lot of deals, making a ton of VC deals, right? So, you know, this is why I told you guys, ever since I met Brian, he started introducing me to the world of VCs and stuff, and I see how well connected these guys are and who they know, and all this stuff is really wild. I think influencers have been missing out on a lot. I've been talking a lot more influencers behind the scenes just to kind of open up communication and stuff. You know, influencers are just so used to marketing. That's all you do, right? Because you have the audience. But there's so much more behind the scenes that I think most people have missed out on. And that's why I'm hardcore right now, concentrating on making connections, meaningful connections, and helping however I can, but also trying to get into that world too. Yours is the only channel that doesn't rewind. Maybe because I'm George and my channel is too awesome for rewinding. All right. I think that's pretty much it. I don't see anything else. All right. Have a good night, guys. I don't have any ending thoughts. My ending thought is go buy Bitcoin. Don't let your money inflate to nothing, and don't trust the banks. All right? Smash it a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good one. Take care.